that's obvious in my professional nature. Uh,
Well, I like have to be on teams every day,
right.
and then I also had a book club that I ran for a couple of years, and so we would Zoom then,
Nice.
and then different writing group permutations. I feel like I've also been on Zoom, and but I'm proud to say that I quit my writing club.
Oh yeah.
I was just like, I'm not gonna like. I'm in my laptop for 8+ hours a day. And I know it's like really selfish, but like I just do not want to be in my laptop for like 3 more extra hours at any
Right.
time. That like just blows. So
Did you feel like it was productive though?
the writing group,
Yeah.
is this recording right now?
Yeah, well, yes, it is. So I was gonna that was my second
You can
question.
keep this in. You can keep
Okay.
this. I like talking
Yeah.
shit. Um, uh, yeah, they're like just highly capable and intelligent people. I'm not just saying this because I know that I'm being recorded now, but like I also, as you have, been in an MFA program,
Hmm.
and I'm just like over like every time I would like, and this is the same with Emma's writing group as with this other writing group. As soon as I'm there, I just feel like I can't get enough oxygen. Like I'm back in the workshop and it's not something that I want to do anymore. Like,
Yeah.
great. I've already did 24 credit hours of workshopping shit. Don't ever put me in that classroom again.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't like people's opinions about my work or having generative conversations about writing. I really do. But I don't want to do it with like a pen in my hand and notepaper in front of me and just being so dutiful. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I kind of get that too. And I'm pretty picky about who I would even want to share work with. But have you found anything that's kind of an alternative to that that's helped you work more or output or edits or whatever?
No, and I don't, I don't want it. You
Yeah.
know, like, at this juncture, like I'm either going to do it or I'm not. I already work, a job that pays well and that I also despise, of course. And like I don't want anything else to feel like a job that I also despise or that has a kind of level of tedium in it. And that seems so ungenerous and so mean spirited. But I just don't need that kind of guidance in my life right now. I'm
Yeah.
40 years old, Nate, and I don't want to hear somebody be like, I think that this character could say this instead. It's like,
Right.
they're not going to say that. I wrote it. Like, this is, I also feel like that's another thing is I've hit a kind of ceiling with that sort of peer review where if somebody's like, have you considered putting this paragraph first? I actually have,
Mhm.
and I didn't, and I cannot justify it anymore. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you work in creative too, though, right?
I work in marketing,
Yeah. I think
but
that counts. Yeah.
sure. I think actually I'm the kind of more gay marketing job where you just send like emails to people,
Yeah.
and traffic emails. That's like, I mean, I will edit sometimes. I'll edit headlines and teasers, and I'll go through a text and edit that as well for clarity. And then I'll try to maybe apply something that's more like salesy language or brand focused or relationship focused.
Mm.
But by no means is the work that I do day in, day out like creative.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
But
like,
you get feedback though, probably. Or
yeah, maybe
no.
that's the root of this is
Yeah.
I do get feedback on that too. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
I just don't need more feedback.
I'm, I'm the same way. I'm not being critical or anything like that because I'm like the worst about getting feedback about things. Like my first instinct is usually like anger. Honestly, someone tells me like something that's like, and it's usually probably because it's true. Like what they're
Yeah.
saying is right, but yeah,
I got it. Okay. So, two things about your writing that I know. One, it can feel, this is like based off of an incredibly tiny sample size. I apologize. But it's like often experimental. It can often feel absurdist. It can feel arbitrary as well because you're creating scenes and situations that are dreamlike and very compressed and very like punny or language oriented. That's on the prose side of things. And then on the poetry side of things, I don't know that much about poetry. Like, do what you need in poetry. Like, you could be like, this is uh, written X way for like Y result. And at the end of the day, it's just a subjective thing where I'm like, I accept that. So then it's a matter of taste. Obviously, I think I know good poetry and good prose from bad, but if you have the education and you have the bona fides, it might come down to a difference of taste, which is, not negotiable at a certain point.
Right. Yeah. And I think that prose can be like that too, but there is sort of a difference. Um, well, just at my own MFA, I did take one prose workshop, or it was a hybrid
Yeah.
one. And so then it was like we got to work with prose writers. We got to listen to people talk about both prose and poetry. And I do think, just to what you just said, another extension of that is like maybe you can't talk about poetry as much either, or you can't criticize it as much or comment on it as much because there's not really the same rules.
Yeah. I think I'm going to offer an anecdote about when I visited Notre Dame to see if it would be a good MFA fit. Although, like, I had only been accepted that year to that MFA and they were fully funding me. So I was just like, this is just me. This is like show and tell. Like, I'm meeting you, you're meeting me. It doesn't matter if this isn't a good fit. I'm going here next year. But they let me into a poetry workshop just so that I had some experience of the conversations that were happening at that like higher level. And one of the poets read this like gruesomely explicit erotic scene about her like vaginal penetration. And like I'd been out of school for 2 years at that point, and so I just wasn't used to like a community of people listening so earnestly to something that was so revolting.
Right.
And like like, and I'm sure it actually wasn't revolting. I'm just remembering this really awkward, like I'm a stranger hearing this like incredibly intimate, wet, like gashy conversation, and just having to be inside of a thing that didn't feel like a poem as much as it felt like a provocation, which is fine because they would obviously be like, what is the difference between a provocation and a poem? And it's like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least at the level of poetry that, as I understand it, it might be concerned with sonics. It might be concerned with form. It might be concerned with like actual, um, like the materiality of language in terms of like assonance or consonants or repetitions or images or something like that. It isn't simply a kind of sex diary that invites like titillation and gawking. I sound so conservative right now, but again, it's like the kind of foreign territory of coming into a classroom and you're presented with a poem that just feels like someone undressing in front of you and just like fully just masturbating.
Right. I feel like Notre Dame also pushes that envelope specifically in the people I've read in their program, particularly the poets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was a kind of tension between the poetry, which can be very like genre agnostic and also envelope pushing, to use just the lamest words, and then also the prose side, which, discounting whatever contributions that Azarine have or Johannes have, at the time that I was there, was pretty tradition bound.
Mm-hmm.
It was very much, it was, linear narrative, memoiristic, historical. Yeah, like it was kind of like comfort reading. But then you had this whole other side of like the younger professors who were doing just ape shit stuff
Yeah.
and encouraging their students to do the same.
Yeah. Maybe this is an easy connection, but it's almost like a rebellion against expectations of the school too. Like I find it odd
Oh,
that
I think that's actually absolutely correct. Yes.
yeah, I find it it's kind of well, do you remember what you applied with and got in with? What your work was?
Yeah. Um, I was just really interested in let me back up here. I was really interested in the Wright brothers, so Orville and Wilbur. and also their sister Catherine and their brother, I think Rushalin, and they had some other brother whose name escapes me just now. But I was really interested in this family unit of weirdos who produced these two American geniuses who transformed the lives of everybody on the planet by basically like quote discovering flight. I think within 5 years it would have been apprehended by other inventors or scientists or other geniuses, but like it was just found by these two. And I love that they were brothers, and I love that they had this homebound sister with them. And I wrote a couple of chapters from the point of view of Wilbur or the point of view of Catherine, and then Orville as like gawky teenagers in, I think, Dayton, Ohio. And it was very much inflected by the work of Thomas Pynchon.
Oh yeah, nice.
I'd been reading shit Against the Day. I was really obsessed with that. Um, and Gravity's Rainbow, of course. Oh God, I have so much Pynchon on the bookshelf over there, and it's escaping me. You hit me with one beer, and suddenly all my literary knowledge floods out. But yes, I got in on like basically 20 to 40 pages of fan fiction about the Wright brothers as teenagers.
Yeah. Did you ever finish it?
Oh, absolutely not.
No. Yeah. It sounds cool though, or maybe it could be a part of a larger thing that moves away from them and into pilots and all of that, you know.
But it ended up in the way of Thomas Pynchon, it ended up like time jumping 100 years so that people who were like against flight, like were essentially Luddites, try to go back in the past and not necessarily assassinate the brothers or members of the family, but to at least like halt the progress of flight and the things that it had done. There's this French theorist, Paul Virilio, I'm mispronouncing his name, who has this famous dictum that like history is actually the history of speed, and the discovery of flight and its adaptation across the globe is actually what brought us into uh, like all the horrors of what we face now. And so this like alt history is just like, okay. I mean, it's basically like just imagining steampunk. Like if you didn't have airplanes or rockets, you would still have blimps, but you might not have nuclear devastation. You know, you might not have the internet, for Christ's sakes. So I kind of like that idea. I'll just like keep riffing on the Wright brothers for a while. They also grew up around me.
Okay.
So their mother, I think, was born in Union County, Indiana, and I was born and raised in Union County, Indiana.
Nice.
And then they lived around like the counties where I grew up as well. And so that was just like one way that inflected my obsession with them at the time. But then also, and Nate, I think this is so important to record, they were like really hot to me. Like they're just so cute. And so I was like, and then like they were like confirmed and famous bachelors, and Wilbur had like no fucking hair from a very young age. And I saw a photo of him in the Wayne County Historical Museum there in Richmond, Indiana. And it was just like getting struck by lightning to look into his eyes in this photograph. And I was like, oh yeah, that's gonna do it.
That's great. That's a story in itself, honestly. While people are writing like fan fiction about I don't know, Twilight or something, you know, you took it to another level. The historical fiction fan fiction.
I read a bunch of biographies at that time, and the one that I liked the most was called The Bishop's Boys. And it's not the one by David McCullough, the famous kind of Pulitzer Prize winning historian. It's just somebody else who investigated how the faith that the family belonged to at the time also formed their worldview and their ethos. And I can't remember exactly what faith they were a part of, but their father was a bishop and he traveled around a whole lot. And their mother eventually died of tuberculosis. And So that like these things like an absentee father, a mother who needed like assiduous caring for, but eventually died anyway. Like these things mark these people.
Mhm.
And then also, yeah, that they were just like Christians of this very specific sect.
Are you still talking about the Wright brothers?
I am strangely still talking about the Wright
No,
brothers.
I didn't know if I missed something, and then I didn't want to have my follow up question be like I wasn't paying attention.
No, that's just
So,
like their biography, the substrate of their bio is so interesting
yeah.
for inventors of flight. And it's like really, it's not like discussed that much. They
So,
also, by the way, were incredible letter writers.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So you
it was a
can
great romance for the family.
you can find those letters. Is there like a book or?
Yeah, there's a compendium of the letters that Wilbur and Orville wrote to each other and to other family members. And they're so, so sweet. It's
Yeah.
so weird and also so bitchy sometimes.
Can you like see where they like iconic spots where they were like trying to fly in Indiana, or where was that?
Yeah, they actually did try to fly in Indiana. They tried to
Yeah.
fly at the dunes near Lake Michigan. And so just outside of Gary, Indiana, there is this guy named Octave Chanute. I am also mispronouncing that name. He was their benefactor for a while. He was actually, I think, pestering a number of inventors and pilot types and captains um, who were pursuing experiments in flight at the time with gliders, and so he was helping to fund them. And yeah, you get the you get the full arc. And the saddest part about Wilbur and Orville is they were deeply like conspiracy laden. They were really nationalistic, jingoistic even, and then they were also highly litigious. So they just like love suing a motherfucker who might be
Really?
infringing on their patents. But Wilbur died first, and I think that was like maybe in 1914. I don't remember the exact date. That feels incorrect. But the blow that Orville suffered because of the loss of his brother and essentially like his other creative half was tremendous. And it made me think about like, what if one of my own brothers died? Like that would have been similarly like paralyzing and just like world shattering.
Yeah.
The Here's another anecdote about this. We can cut all of the Orville Wright shit out. But like what's so funny is that like in their early years of test flights, there was this guy named Lieutenant Selfridge who was pursuing similar experiments, and that they were like always getting to like petty quarrels with because Selfridge would I don't know if I'm getting this right, but just treat it as fan fiction, basically pretend like he had found solutions to the problem of gliding or the problem of like hanging on the air a certain amount of time or the problem of propulsion when he really hadn't. And the brothers just like sort of found him very grating. And then on a test flight, either in the United States or in France, I don't remember, him and Orville went up in a two-seater. And Orville, like something went wrong and the plane crashed. And Orville survived, but Lieutenant Selfridge, their enemy, died.
Dang.
Yeah.
You think they planned it?
I don't think there's like any way to plan it, but the kind of like the tragic irony of it and also the suspicion of it is very rewarding to
Yeah.
kind of ponder from like the point of view of like fiction or screenwriting or something like that.
Right. Yeah. And it's got like a place that you're connected with. I feel like, yeah, I mean, Indiana probably has way more famous people or influential people than Iowa. There's
Yeah,
not really.
John Cougar Mellencamp, Michael
Right.
Jackson.
Right.
There's probably some other people from Indiana.
Yeah. I did learn there was like this major prohibition. He was like kind of a gangster guy, and you can still go to his houses in Rock Island. It's in Illinois, it's across the river, but it's like a 5-minute drive from here. I kind of wanted to look at that. And then there's like a famous cornet player from Davenport who like played with Louis Armstrong and stuff. But other than that, not too much from the Quad Cities.
I like that you know. I like that you know all these gentlemen by name.
Yeah. But well, the Big Spiderback is like they have a yearly event for the cornet player. Like he's kind of been an icon here. There's like murals and stuff. So,
What is his name, Nathan? What is his actual name, though?
it's Bix Beiderbecke is the trumpet player.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
do.
It's
Yeah.
it's a weird name, yeah. And then the pro or the bootlegger guy, his name is John Looney, I think. John Patrick Looney.
These are all really lovely and strange names.
I know Looney is good for like a bad guy.
Yeah, for sure. It's like it's overcoded his badness.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to mess with him probably. Um
How is Davenport treating you? I noticed that you're brewing your beer, which
yeah,
seems really fucking delicious, by the way.
yeah. It's been going well. The last one we did was probably one of our best. We did like a saison, and I don't know if you have you ever tried homebrew?
No, I don't know. What is that?
Well, it's like just beer that people make in their
Oh, yes.
yeah.
My oldest brother went through a phase, and he would
Yeah.
brew bits of it. Yeah.
So it's kind of they're good, but it's kind of difficult to get the distinct homebrew flavor out of them. Like there's a distinct flavor to it, and so I feel like this last one we did, it tasted like a real beer you could get like at a brewery. I feel like so it was a pretty big step for
That's
us.
huge.
Yeah,
Are you getting my brother's problem is that he would always make them and they would have just like simply too much alcohol in them. He'd be like, "Hey, this is supposed to be a Pilsner, but it's like 8.5." And I'd be
yeah,
like, "Okay." So,
yeah, and you can't even really gauge it. There's like ways to determine the ABV, but I don't know how accurate it is. All I know is those ones. Sometimes when I have one, I get kind of buzzed off it. So,
also, I mean, that's kind of what I drink beers for. So
right,
never a bad thing.
right. It's kind of the end goal.
Right. Yeah.
You've never been to the Quad Cities, right?
Um, I feel like I went to the Quad Cities to visit a university when I was in undergrad. Like a girlfriend of mine
Mhm.
had a friend that was doing a show in the Quad Cities. So if there's like a university
Yeah.
somewhere,
There's Augustana.
oh, that's where I went. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Um, nice, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to talk it down because it is like a nice place to live, and it's like right on the Mississippi.
I was gonna say it was a university on a river.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice. But also, it's not the same as like Chicago. It's not like you're gonna be able to go.
Bro, I went to Valparaiso when I was an undergrad.
What's it called?
Valparaiso University in Valparaiso, Indiana.
Wow.
It's like pretty much, I mean, it's like a 45-minute drive from Lake Michigan, but you're
Yeah.
in Indiana. You're surrounded by cornfields on all sides.
Is it a private school?
Private and Lutheran and oh so expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. What made you choose it?
Um, what did make me choose it? Oh, I actually have a very distinct answer to this, which was that I was a rebellious teenager and also an incredible romantic, which I remain. And I I couldn't afford Columbia College Chicago,
Mhm.
but Valpo was going to give me a really decent funding package, and I knew that it was a peculiar and highly Lutheran and really tiny school, and I wouldn't flourish there socially, and I would also be going as like an out gay person, and they seem to be vehemently not into gay people there. And so, as this like bizarre form of like future punishment, and also as like a kind of like flip of the bird to my parents and also to my own potential, I was like, I'll go here, which is like
Yeah.
a really strange sacrifice to make. But it ended up being kind of amazing. Like, I'm not saying that I'm so resilient that you can't keep this bad bitch down, but like I don't know. I loved Valpo eventually. And I made amazing friends there and I still have those connections too. So
Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
Do you think it was kind of a contrarian move to make the decision to go there? Did you have any other like? Do you wish you would have gone to like a bigger school or?
I mean, I think of, like the sliding doors context almost every day. That's all I live my life by, it seems.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could have gone to IU. I could have gone to a lot of places in Indiana. It's not that like my grades were so great
Mhm.
or my grades were fine or that my like SAT scores were that high. It's just that I was involved in a lot of clubs. I did have good grades. I had good letters of recommendation. I had a lot of high school awards for things. And so I could have gotten into like various places. And instead I just chose this really tiny religious school.
Well, did you grow up in a small town, or what's your hometown like?
Yeah, yeah. I grew up in deep rural Indiana, right on the Ohio border. It's closer to Cincinnati or Dayton than it is to Indianapolis.
Okay,
And yeah, I grew up in again cornfields. So
maybe it was like a stepping stone
I
to the third largest population in America.
yeah, yeah. Like I think if I'd gone to IU, what is that, a university of like 20 some thousand students, graduate, undergrad, staff and faculty. Um, Instead of doing that, I went to Valpo and much smaller class sizes, much smaller, just like campus life in general, and then a much smaller community surrounding it as well. Like Valparaiso isn't the same size as Bloomington whatsoever. So maybe that was like my graduating high school class was 98 students.
Okay,
And so going
that's
through,
about. I went to a Catholic high school, but mine was only 125. Davenport's bigger as a whole city, but I went to kind of a small school too.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say, like Davenport feels like a suburb of some stripe, but yeah,
yeah,
I forgot that you went to Catholic high school.
yeah. You bet. Yeah, church at least once or twice a week.
Well, I mean, you still do that, so that checks.
Right. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I didn't even read your bio, um, but that's okay. I think I'll just put something in the beginning after all this. But
Do you edit? Do you like you go through and you're like, you can interpolate my bio or do whatever.
yeah, I might just put something at the beginning, and then typically I don't edit. Just leave it as it is. But just to talk about it, listeners will know Evan from the Pizza and Breakfast periodicals, particularly the Halifax Project, um, which has been excerpted 3 times. And I did want to talk about that. So do you want to tell the listeners out there kind of how that project came to be, or like kind of what it is?
Sure. Well, I've had like a couple of runs where I could have really come up with something crisp and distinct to talk about the Halifax project. The Halifax project is about two things. It's mostly about a friendship I have, a kind of difficult friendship I have with this like kind of Andrew person. Also, this is autofiction, and so I want to use like quotes around myself or the narrator, and
Mm-hmm.
also the self that is also this guy named Andrew. Although we both exist outside of these stories and outside of these texts.
Mm-hmm.
And then about like Halifax itself, which is not particularly well drawn. I don't think people would go to it and be like, I know more about Halifax now, or about like its culture, its whims, its streets, its food. They'll just know more about me and my feelings about this other person. So
Yeah. Not always though. It seems like because I didn't reread every single page today, but
yeah.
I was looking at the 3 sections, and the last one that you had in pizza, it like Halifax is hardly in it at all, I think.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like it's just like living inside my head for a bit in Chicago.
Yeah.
Um, I can just read some of Halifax
Yeah.
Project. People will
Do
be
it.
like, oh sure.
Yeah.
Okay, this might go for 5 minutes. I apologize in
That's fine.
advance.
Yeah.
Okay. Got This is from actually the very first entry. So this is just from Halifax Project. Let's see if I can get my reading voice on. He describes the Canadian writer's short stories as too cute by half. Like, what's an example? He answers, all the pennies in circulation have been used up in a kind of penny press craze. He tries to remember. The penny press is that thing in a museum where you put 2 quarters in and then a penny, and the penny is smooshed and has a thing stamped on it. So in this story, the penny stamp shows you a really small pictogram of your death, or your first pet, or the name of your soulmate. It's short stories like that. They have this carapace of magical realism that is also trivial and plot motivating. The penny press must be decommissioned because it's adversely affecting the economy. The production of pennies can't meet the demands of the press. Indeed, people gather the world over in a globe looping line to enter the museum and climb its however many marble steps until reaching a fourth floor portico where the machine sits prettily and unassuming, save that, it's supernatural. His interlocutor says, "But you've thought about this story a lot." He concedes, "I think about stories a lot." "Oh, are you a writer?" He says, "Not really, not anymore." They drink their beers. "Okay, but what did you write about?" He thinks about it and says, "Just like love stories, kinda." What were his love stories about? So I worked on this one cycle for a while about moving to Chicago and trying to make it work with this a guy. And I wasn't that young actually. I was 31, but it seemed like I had no clue how to do anything. I had to start a new job and make new friends and acclimate to my boyfriend's routines. And in a lot of ways, the story I was writing concurrently to keep up with the devastation and confusion of that relationship, and some of its joys, of course, was a way of describing to myself the difficulty of what was happening in my life. "I'm always writing from life," he says, with exhaustion. "I find my life puzzling and my friends' lives interesting, and our problems make good copy, as they say. But people from my imagination don't really hold my attention in any sustained way. Although, because I've never really finished these stories, you could say that my own life also does not hold my attention in any sustained way either." The man asks, "Is that why you're in Halifax?" "I'm in Halifax because it and Andrew generate strong feelings and mysteries to me. I'm hoping to apprehend some of those feelings and solve a few of these mysteries." Does he really believe this? "I'm not saying what I mean," he says. His questioner says, "Then why not say what you mean?" He laughs a little. "I suppose that I'm very lonely and I wanted to meet my friend. I wanted him out of my phone, which is normal enough." The man asks, "Are you going to write about this? Our conversation?" "Sure, but all of this." And the man points out at the bay's midnight blue waters and the string lights above the beer garden, and the revelers holding half-full steins shout talking and smiling, and at tall, broad Andrew 2 tables down, surrounded by his friends. There's a propane heater behind him, whose tall orange flame turns his hair from yellow to gold, and he's laughing at something in such a sustained way, his mirth seems so cumulative that his green eyes are grin-pinched and sparkling. Why is he looking at Andrew's hair so closely? What does grin-pinched even mean? That's that.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the first, I guess, 3 graphs of
Yeah.
Halifax project.
Do you think it's the very first page?
It's the first page and the second page. And what it does there is it moves through a critique of Canadian literature writ large. I think it's making fun of Sheila Heti, although it's like pretty mean spirited because she does not write like that. And also, Halifax Project owes a debt to How Should a Person Be? That sort of like seminal autofiction that she wrote, I guess, in like 2009. I don't know when she published that, about her friendship with the painter Margot Williamson in Toronto. And then it goes on to like a kind of more meta description about like the things that I've written previously, or this like Evan narrator in Chicago. And then it goes into like, why are you in Halifax, or why do you care? And it's just like, well, there's this person that has lived in my phone for a long time, which is true of my life and also true in this series of, that I want to come to know better. And so I actually think, not to pat my own back, but it's like an incredibly economic way of introducing most of the themes or most of the ideas and movements of the story. Like, I'm going to be talking about literature. I'm going to be talking about my phone a lot. And I'm going to talk about just like failed love too.
Yeah. I like that the reason I asked if it was the first page of the whole project is I like that it starts just using the he pronoun
Yeah, yeah.
before revealing the name. And it's like also just a small note, but it's really hard to juggle 2 he pronouns in a dialogue that don't have names.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was I had to look at it again to see how you did it.
Oh, I don't know if I always succeed. You'll
Yeah.
notice in like the later entries, there isn't that much success on that front. But then I'm also much better about tagging Evan said, Andrew said, his
Yeah.
mom said, his dad said, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Well, it's probably hard to. I mean, it's in the perfect place just in the beginning. Because then later on, it probably doesn't matter as much.
yeah,
You already know that it's Evan.
yeah. I was wondering, like the other thing about the project is it's a record. It's not necessarily a faithful record, but it is a record of the encounters I've had in Halifax, the experience of my friendship with this person, um, and it's over time. So like the David Baller Wallace issue of Breakfast
Mm-hmm.
came out, and then I went and hung out with this person, I guess like two or three more times, and then I sat down and rewrote or thought through some experiences and started writing again. And so each time it feels like a new understanding of a relationship, even if they're contiguous in time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they don't necessarily link up in a way that makes that much sense if you're just doing like chronological, but aesthetically they feel like they're very of a piece.
Yeah, and the way I'm reading it is abridged anyway, too. And over the span of at least 1 year, maybe a year and a half.
I think it was a year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. And that one takes place in September that you just read. So
it does, and it's not even the next encounter. It takes place like a year and a half later, I think. So September, and then it's like the planning of a thing that will happen, but it's in December is the next entry.
Do you find yourself writing them differently now as opposed to then, or is it sort of the same process?
Yeah. I find it excruciating always, but yeah, because I mean it's a moving target. If you have a relationship with the person that you're writing about, then that the feelings about that person and your relationship change. And so a lot of it is the record of that change, and that's legible in the text itself. Like the first one is a little coy about how I feel about this character, is about like what is the relationship between these two people and how invested are they? And Andrew doesn't have like any speaking lines in that first entry. And in the second one, I feel like he's part of a chorus of voices, but he's kind of evaded again. You're introduced to like Evan's failed romance with this Nick character, and then Andrew sort of provides some commentary on it, and then we dive into the subjectivity of Andrew's mom. And then in the third entry, it's really just this kind of diaristic account of like the angst that the narrator feels about his relationships at that time. And yeah, I mean, that's a complete record of taking time off, like when you write something a year and a half ago and then you write something 6 months later, or sorry, you write something a year and a half later and then you write something 6 months even after that, like you just keep your feelings keep morphing around it. So I should, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the one key component here is that like it is really puzzling out how to feel about something in real time, how to feel about a person, how to feel about a life situation, how to feel about a place. And because that changes so drastically like every 3 months, then like the fiction is actually just having to revisit it every time and be like, let me reconstruct what might have been said here.
Yeah. Do you have more than those three?
I do. I have some outlines, and then I actually got some drafts of stuff, and they always bother me. So it's not like the latest entry that you got was actually a really hard rewrite, and you watched me rewrite it, I think 3 times. Like I submitted it to you, and I was like, please don't publish it right now. But,
Yeah.
and then I like added, I think 1,000 words to it, which is I'm glad it's a zine. I think a zine format affords that kind of flexibility. Like, hey, this is a draft version of a thing. Thank you for including it in your zine.
Right. Yeah, because the reality is that the circulation isn't huge.
Yeah, it's not that I'm submitting like a fucking turd.
Right.
But here's this like tissue that I
No, I
wrote.
really liked the last one. I think I texted you that. I felt like it was very like concise, and
Yeah,
you could tell the paragraphs were all doing something.
I just really hated it. I just really like found myself army crawling through it in boredom. And I think it's because I was having to articulate something to myself that felt like messy and mean and overworked from my life, my own
Mhm.
life feelings. The other two don't suffer from that. They have a kind of buoyancy, I feel like, where I'm almost riffing on the situation of my characters and I'm not inside of this Evan person who's sad about a thing. And
Mhm.
so so it was actually very encouraging to hear you be like, no, these are working. These are working as like their paragraph units. You're being entertaining for each like almost 300 to 400 words that you're asking somebody to sit through.
Nice.
I'm,
Yeah, I feel like also I didn't want that to get misconstrued because I feel like sometimes I'll laugh like at certain things because of like someone saying something dumb, you know, like I don't know. It's complicated. Like
I wasn't offended at all. I thought that what you were commenting on was that like this is a romantic comedy.
yeah,
Ultimately, like it's not Jane Austen necessarily, but it is um, a series of like romantic expectations foiled over and over again. Um, and there's something kind of, I mean, there's something directly humorous about that at the level of the writing, but then also just like existentially, it's kind of humorous too.
yeah.
I,
I also just feel like your tempo is so good too that sometimes I'll read something and it's like the dialogue makes me
yeah,
laugh,
yeah,
you know, because it's so the way you have it set up, it's so like rapid fire, and it's not even like humor; it's more like wit. But
yeah, yeah.
you know,
No, I get that. I'm glad for that for you saying that too. Also, I'm aware that I structure my dialogue in a way that's non-standard in terms of breaking line by line,
right.
but I've seen other writers like do that, like Penelope Fitzgerald, so I'm going to do it too.
Well, I would you would take up more pages if you had broken all the
There's actually a great economy for why I'm doing it the way that I do.
yeah.
You're right,
Uh,
man. Like it would have been like a 10 or like 12 page entry if I had broken it up like every quote, you know?
yeah. So you talked about yeah. What sort of things are you looking at to mirror it, or is it all kind of just a melting pot of everything you've ever read? Because also second part of that question,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of books that had been written like one chapter at a time over a long period of time, and then the chapters remain kind of besides like journalism. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, because the way that you're
Right, right.
crafting it, I was wondering if you read anything like that before, or what sort of influences you could tie to being in your mind when you're working on this.
Sure. That's the thing that kind of sucks about this practice and not having, like a fellowship or a retreat where I can spend a month to um, a year just sitting down every day and writing it out. It's like, oh, you have a new pizza coming out. I should contribute to it. And I should go back into a mangled draft of my feelings that usually exist as notes on my phone
Yeah,
and produce some kind of like longer kind of essayistic or diaristic piece, which is what ends up coming out, I think. They don't really function as short stories necessarily. They come out as like reports. So,
yeah,
I don't know, I was thinking about this, that the people that I most admire are, or at least that I find myself just addicted to reading, are autofictionists of a certain stripe. So Renata Adler, Speedboat feels very of a piece with what I'm writing. Have you read that before?
no,
I feel like you would just hoover it up.
yeah,
She's writing one, she's just like oh so smart. I think she's got a law degree from Yale. She has another one from the Sorbonne. She seems very Harvardy, but I don't think that was her. Oh, it was Bryn Mawr was her undergrad. And she was writing for the New Yorker in her 20s, and the fiction that she was producing at the time feels like it's saturated with the emotions that a 20 year old have, but the
mm-hmm.
kind of insights that somebody who has already lived a lifetime in New York City would also have. Um, So there's that. Sybil Bedford, A Legacy. That's a really out of nowhere connection. Sheila Heti already mentioned. Elif Bachman. You'll notice these are all women.
I am always curious about how you find what you choose to read. I know well, first of all, you read more than me, but also it seems like you're more in tune with like new stuff that's kind of lesser known a lot.
I I think that like I cut my teeth on N+1 magazine when I
Yeah.
was an undergrad, and I think that the sensibilities of their editors and the recommendations that they gave, they literally made booklets of book recommendations that you could buy from them. So I got their book recommendation booklet, and then I just went through and read that. And
Nice.
so
Yeah.
that's kind of like how I got exposed to these people. Um, but I'm just in instead of, I think the other difference between you and I don't know if this is true, we can debate it, but like I'm really interested in literary criticism and the history of literary criticism in post-war United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the New York Review of Books, the London Review of Books, N+1, the New Criterion of all things, um, just like the little quote little magazines of the 1940s and 50s. Those things really interest me, and just how catty and petty, but also sharp their critics were, is still something that like will hook me. Like I love the collections that their writers produced and revisiting them. But so even people like Elizabeth Hardwick, who was one of the co-founders of the New York Review of Books, her essays are great, but then also her novel Sleepless Nights, which is broadly autofiction, was something that I really latched onto in graduate school, and I mapped my own thesis against it. Like she talked about the divorce from Robert Lowell throughout the novel. I mean, that was kind of like the inciting factor of that book, was just her trying to make sense of her shattered life. And as one does in graduate school, I also went through a tremendous breakup and then used Sleepless Nights as my sort of Bible during that period of time. Um, yeah. I feel like I'm getting really throaty and like holding my head in a strange way right now.
Well, I don't know a lot of them. So that's the only problem. I'll have it on record.
I think you actually read. I'm not gonna. We don't have to like. It's not a pissing contest about reading, but like you read more eclectically than I do. Like I think that you take more risks in a sense. Like I sit with critics and intellectuals of a certain stripe in the 21st century. That would be like Hannah Arendt, and Susan Sontag, and Elizabeth Hardwick or Sybil Bedford. And then I look at like the New Yorker writers, or I look at N+1, and I kind of burrow into their taste and affiliations. And that's how I come up with my constellation of writers that I admire and want to emulate. And that feels incredibly staid, just like very silly to try to do that. But especially for my project.
Well, what I like about that is because it seems like I used to work with this um critic who's retired, but he was a professor, and he was always talking about like kind of the relationships that academics and critics have, where they all read each other's work.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes they're nice to each other, and other times they kind of are passive aggressive, and it's sort of a whole culture of itself. And I think that's really cool. I don't think that there's too much of that going on in my world or radar, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
It would get people reading more, I think. I mean,
I will say two things, and they're not a diss. The first is that you live in Davenport, Iowa,
right.
right? So like the stakes aren't that high for you.
Right.
But two, you're I think primarily a poet, right? And a publisher. And so it behooves you to be kind, Nathan. And to be in generous and generative conversations with other people rather than just like shitting on them. I've watched like I think like Sam Pink, is that like a poet or
Yeah, I know who that is. I mean,
okay,
I know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy who is like can be a raging bitch to other people, and then there's also people can be also, um, big assholes to him as well. But like I remember him from like mid aughts criticism or HTML giant sort of discourse, and just being like, yeah, I don't want to be that big of a lightning rod for controversy, even
Yeah.
if it might be good for the literary ecosystem to have somebody who is a pariah.
Right. Yeah. Well, there was a lot of drama on Twitter and stuff too. So it doesn't even, at that point, it doesn't even need to be like academic. It's just like Twitter fighting,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is like kind of part of the reason I didn't want to be on it anymore. I feel like I talk about it so much, it's boring to talk about Twitter, but like a lot of that stuff, because I used to follow a lot of those writers and they would always beef and then they'd like unfollow each other and then they'd like, or like one like 6 months you'd see them sharing each other's work and standing up for each other, and then 6 months later they'd be mad at each other, and then another 6 months later they'd be like
Yeah, yeah.
sharing each other's stuff. It was like so silly. Uh,
I I'm not above that, man.
yeah.
Like unfortunately, there's something about my personality that's like very much score settling
Yes.
and sort of like, inserting the shiv. I've written really mean reviews, and I've said really trashy and trashing comments about writers, and I'm never taking them back. And they're also
Yeah.
usually public, but I'm also not part of a literary ecosystem. Like I'm part of pizza,
Right.
but I got nothing to lose, man.
Well, if you have something that you need to rage about, I'm not afraid to put it out there. Just so you know.
I don't want to rage about this, but like sitting beside me, we're talking about like actually literary influences, kind of.
Mhm.
And I think part of the reason why I wrote the Halifax project, in addition to, let me describe this very carefully. In addition to the fact that it's a really, it's an extended love letter to somebody that I have a complicated friendship with, right? It is also just an excuse to write and to be in conversation with other writers and to be part of even if it's like nominal community of writers, editors, publishers, whatever. But I would say the strongest influence has been this small press in Nova Scotia called Gasboro.
Mm,
And I think, over $400 of just like small titles from them
nice.
that I buy sort of annually and just like put, $118 on my credit card, and then they mail them. It's going to be so much more this year with the fucking tariffs.
Mm, yeah.
But Um, yeah, I'm just really obsessed with the kind of scale of their production, the beauty of their books, the texture of their pages. Just to single a few out, like Roy Cronin has this series of monographs on visual artists from the Maritimes, or maybe like Canada broadly. So I've gotten to know the work of Maud Lewis a lot better because of Roy Cronin, and also Mary Pratt, and then also I guess this guy named, I want to say his name is Reginald Ferguson, although I might be butchering that. I read like maybe the best cat poem I've ever read this year by Tom Cull in his Kill Your Starlings book. And then they just have great process books as well. So Andrew Steves, who's one of their, I think, typesetters and editors, he has this book called Smoke Proofs, which is just a series of essays about book production. And then Jim Johnstone talks a lot about the literary ecology of small presses and zines in Canada in this monograph called Write, Print, Fold, and Staple. And so even like just across time and geography, this has been like a kind of north star for me. Like if I just get 5 of these entries, if I just get 50,000 words, let's say, or that's not even realistic. If I get 25,000 words about like the Halifax project, I might be able to submit to Gaspro Press and have them be like, can you just like publish this long love letter that I've written to both Canada, strangely, Halifax, incidentally, and this like hunky dude that now lives in Montreal. That would be like tight.
That would be the perfect place for it, sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me, because I'm curious and because I want to like not take up too much of your time. What is the future of your press? You told me that pizza is maybe undergoing either a hiatus or a change.
Yeah, we shall see. Because you know what's funny? Literally, I was thinking that, and I go. This is just the type of person I am. Like, I go through like extreme fatalistic. Like, I'm kind of joking, but not really. Like
Oh,
fatalistic.
I follow you on Instagram. You're fucking wild.
Like I go low sometimes, and so I'll always think about quitting everything. And not like that, but then I remembered I just bought all these envelopes, and so I can't quit because I have to use up the envelopes. You know what I mean? So I'm
Wait, how many envelopes is
like
it?
probably like 80. I have probably I
80.
bought,
Okay, that's actually not like the scale of me. You and I have a difference of yeah. Okay.
but they're bubble mailers. They're not like just regular.
I know that I make a lot more money than you, but 80 bubble mailers is not a lot of something.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna throw them out.
Okay.
And really, I only sell like every pizza I put out. It's like 30 copies. Like it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
So
I think that's pretty sick. How like
yeah,
how limited the edition is.
but we'll see.
Are you feeling like your wrists are surviving the folding and tying?
Yeah,
I'm
they're
not even dogging. I'm serious.
they're all right. I just sewed two more today in case you sell any.
I think people. I got an inquiry today because um I actually should. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna do some cross. I'll like do some cross promotion with you by actually tagging my excerpt on my latest Instagram post.
Nice, yeah.
A hot that I kind of know was just like, hey, where can I like where can I get a manuscript of your writing? And I was
Mm.
just, I'm not gonna share that with you because it's too emo and too embarrassing to let you hot person read my fiction. But now that I know that like the fate of your press is depending on this, like you might, you know, you might get some mail orders.
All right.
Right. Okay,
That's,
so that's intriguing. The other question I have is, have you used InDesign at all since I gave you keys to the castle?
I was looking at it, but I think I need to have some material to. I need to have like an end goal of like
Yeah, you need a
the
project
material. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
really
But
exciting.
I was looking at it and I'm appreciative, and I was also talking to my friend Hans, who is a graphic designer. He did some comics and other issues, and I was talking to him about it. So hopefully that will be the future of
Nice.
yeah, and then
Okay.
I won't have any printing errors or whatever.
I mean, you fucked me so hard on that one.
That
And then
was
I
a
have,
mess. I
I
was
have
like
a,
sweating when you told me that. I started sweating. I was so mad. I was like, "How did I do that?" This was like the first time I was confident that it was all good,
I
and
was
then
like not. What was my feelings were pretty complex about it as well. I think what it is like my boyfriend Will came over
mhm.
and I was like, I got the latest pizza. So and he's like, cool. So you wrote about Andrew a lot again. Ah. And then he was like, how does it look? And I was like, it looks it's like really solid. Just really love these booklets. But like it is janky. It is a transcription error through and through. And he's like, "Are you gonna tell Nate?" And I was like, "Nope. I'm just gonna just gonna suck it up. I do it for the love and for the passion of writing and supporting this very tiny community. And I absolutely am not gonna give him a headache about this." And then you, like an hour or two later, texted me and was just like, "How does it look?" And I
Yeah,
was like, "Well," so we actually resolved that pretty easily, I think.
yeah. It's tough. Yeah, I can't use that word anymore because it's just there's too much that can go wrong. Um, which to finish the full circle, that's another reason why I might not do the pizza zines anymore because they might not look like that anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
You know.
yeah.
I want to start doing glue binding, but it's been something that I just keep putting off.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
Let me know how I can help, by the way. I don't have much to do, so just.
Well, you've already been very helpful. So, is there anything else you wanted to plug, or anything you've got going on? Even doesn't have to do with writing that you wanted to talk about for the vast listeners all across the world.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I don't have anything that I've like thought about, but you've at least like tickled my pickle enough that I'll say it. I think that more people should play badminton, obviously.
Right.
So 40 is going to be a time that I'm going to try to like create something around badminton. That's very important to me. I hope to write a lot more. I hope to finish this like thing around Halifax in a satisfactory way. I think that 5 entries or 7 entries will be enough, and then we can move on with our lives, right?
Yeah.
And then hopefully I leave the world of finance as well. Not necessarily this year, but hopefully next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once the airplane novel comes out.
Oh God, man! If I could revisit those texts. Hey, if you need like a monograph, or not a monograph necessarily, but like what is a double like 28-page thing called?
I don't know, pamphlet.
I guess it would be a pamphlet. If you need a pamphlet on very juvenile fan fiction about Orville and Wilbur Wright, I'm your man.
All right. We'll serialize it.
Okay. Wait, do you have anything that you want to get off your chest?
No, I don't think so. Nothing that I can think of. But thanks for chatting with me. And I'm sure I'll talk to you outside of the podcast world.